on site?
What's that?
Is Dean here?
Oh yeah, he's been here since 5.
Yeah, that's what I figured. He's not in the trailer ever. Oh, there he is. Okay. Hello, good morning. How are you?
What's that?
Talk a little bit about what you have going on the job this month.
Pouring concrete, basically framing and working in the clubhouse. Doing the MEPs. We have an inspection today for the MEPs in the clubhouse for the so we can get ready for insulation and sheetrock. We have building 1, which is right behind you, which is they're just finishing up the 3rd floor trusses now. They're starting to put on walls. This is building 2, which is it's going to last to the slab is getting poured, so we can get this one ready for framing. You can see half is already poured, and that's pretty much where we're at. We have the water lines coming in from Robinson up at the top of the site here. Today they're doing some exploratory holes and revealing areas where we hit ledge, so we can quantify how much ledge that we do have in there, so we can get that removed and finish our water lines so we can get those onto our site.
So the water line's being held up for the ledge excavation now?
At the point where we're at right now, correct. We ran into this yesterday.
Yep.
So right now, all the live taps are done. The meter pit that's on Robbins Road is completed. That's all been inspected. And now the water lines are coming out of that, which is domestic and fire, and those will be coming into the site.
So how about the power? Is it permanent power?
We have right now, we had Eversource finished up our permanent power for the site itself, and they did our temporary power. We have meters in the clubhouse, and we have a meter for temporary power. So hopefully by probably not next week because of the extreme cold weather that's coming in, but by the following week, we should have all our temporary power run to the buildings, to the trailer, and the clubhouse itself will be powered up live.
I see you got a big blue heater outside the clubhouse, right?
Correct. We just started using that the other day so we can start doing our insulation and sheetrocking inside the building.
Okay, so it's getting acclimated to get ready for that.
Yep.
So sheetrock's going to start, your directions go okay.
Sheetrock will start on the...
Sheetrock next week, right?
No, on the 27th, following week.
Following week.
We're going to load the building on the 24th.
Load it. Oh, with sheetrock.
Yep. Yep. So we should be done with the insulation at that point.
So on the framing on building number 1 and this is building number 2. So you got the 2nd floor, so you'll be putting the walls up on the 2nd floor pretty soon.
We're putting the 3rd floor walls up.
And then the roof trusses.
Correct.
Everything's here on site, ready to go?
Yes, it is.
As usual.
As you...
Any surprises coming up or anything you're concerned about?
Just the cold weather.
Yeah.
Cold weather has been killing us. It's been extremely cold, and that's very hard to work in. It slows down production, and nothing works well in the cold.
Now, if it was cold and you had to pour the concrete, is that doable or not?
It is cold, and we are pouring the concrete, and yes, it was doable because we had everything thawed out. We put everything on blankets, and we took the hoses off, which you can see the ground thaw machine sitting over there. This was all wrapped when we got here this morning at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I saw it yesterday. So
yep.
The green machine there, that's
a ground thaw machine.
So that you spread the tubing.
Spread the tubing 1 foot apart all the way through the entire foundation. You run about 6,000 feet of line, and the temperature that comes out of it comes out at 160 degrees. It returns at about 140 degrees, and it keeps everything warm so nothing can freeze up underneath the blankets, and it creates a nice thermal barrier. We also have stone underneath the welded wire fabric. We have 18 inches of stone in this foundation too, because of the winter conditions itself.
The stone is a function of winter or a function of design?
It's because of the winter conditions.
Really?
So we don't get, because the soils and everything would freeze up too fast.
Oh, I see. And then it'd be held to try and thaw
We cannot pour on anything that's frozen.
Yeah.
It has to pass compaction, and it has to be unfrozen.
So, the inspectors need to come out and approve this? before you pour it?
Inspectors looked at everything well before this was, as we were going through, the inspectors have been out here consistently.
Multiple times?
Yep.
Yeah. So you're ahead of the game every step of the way.
What's that?
You're ahead of the game every step of the way. You don't.
We're trying to stay ahead of the game, correct. Yep.
Yeah. So I was talking to the concrete guys. They seem to be a well-seasoned team.
Yes, our concrete crew is a very good crew. They do, the flat work is very good. The flat work is run by Samantha, which is the woman that's out there.
Yeah.
She runs a very tight ship, and they do fantastic work. If you look at the slab on building 2 on the first half, it's a great finish. They do a very good job.
I saw the parking garage and they were doing that. And at the end of the day, that thing was shining like a mirror.
Looks like a piece of glass. Yep.
And then they put some sealer on top of it and it got even shinier.
Yep. Yeah. They'll by the end of the day, this will be poured. It gets poured, the finish gets burnt into it. It'll be the control joints get cut, and then they will sweep it, and then they will seal this. Then we will cover it with the blankets again, leave the blankets on here until we're ready to pour building 3. So the blankets will probably stay on here for a good week. We want to keep the blankets on just to let the concrete cure at a reasonable temperature.
So would you say that in a week's time, the underground utilities would be in on building 3?
No, building 3 until it thaws out, we can't do the underground utilities.
Can't.
No.
So
We won't start it until the following week because next week the temperatures are supposed to be extreme.
yeah.
Colder than now.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like 4 to 5 degrees at night and barely getting up into the teens during the day. So next week is pretty much a bust when it comes to working in the ground.
So you couldn't even put the thawing tubes down.
No, because as soon as we pulled the thawing machine off, it'll instantly freeze. It'll flash freeze at those temperatures.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we can't do it because once you get the molecules moving, it freezes a lot faster.
So when you finishing today, will you reblanket?
Everything here will be back on there.
and then the thawing machine will go back.
Yes, everything will be covered back up again.
Okay. With the thawing machine too?
No, just the blankets.
Just the blankets.
Because the concrete will develop its own heat inside of it,
Yeah.
and it'll act like a nice thermo barrier for it.
Yeah.
Because last week when we poured that, when I came in on Saturday and I shot the temperature of the concrete on Saturday morning, even though it was only 15 degrees Saturday morning, underneath the blankets, the concrete was 65 degrees.
So what do you use to take the temperature?
A thermo gauge?
Is it like an infrared thing or?
Yep, yeah.
Not a thermometer.
No, it's a thermal gauge, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So the testing guys show up at some point. When does that occur?
He's already here.
Okay.
He's taking samples of the concrete.
Okay.
Coastal materials testing. He's in that van that's right there. He's already been taking cylinders, and he checks the temperature. He checks the water content and the air content of the concrete, and he also checks the temperature of it, and he also checks the slump, making sure that the concrete's being poured at the right slump.
They're doing that for every load that comes in.
They do it for every third truck. Today we'll be pouring 90 plus yards.
How many trucks is that?
That's 9 trucks plus.
10. 9 or 10, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so you don't anticipate starting framing on this in a week or so?
We will start framing on this probably after next week because, again, next week is supposed to be so cold.
Yeah.
It's hard for men to work out in this weather too. When your high temperatures are only in the teens, it's very hard to work.
Can't hold the nail gun. The nail guns.
The nail guns freeze up. The compressors freeze up. Everything freezes up. There's no way that you could keep them in a warm atmosphere so they don't freeze up. They develop condensation with the air, and everything freezes up.
Now, does that give you an advantage to be able to shift more manpower into another area to perhaps accelerate things?
No.
Doesn't
Help us out one bit.
Doesn't.
It just makes it more of a coordination nightmare.
Yeah. So if you wanted to catch up, or if you wanted to accelerate the schedule, what might be techniques that you could do that if need be? It's
really hard to do that when you're framing. It's hard to do any kind of. You can't heat the buildings because there's no roofs on them. You can't. There's really not much you can do. Mother Nature pretty much has her finger on you.
Yeah.
But when we do have a temperature break and we can get in here, we bring in additional manpower
Yep.
in to do framing on both buildings at the same time.
Yeah. So there is a little bit you can do to make up for lost time because
There's always a lot to do,
Yeah.
and we have all the ducks in a row, and we're prepared to do that when the weather breaks and allows.
So I noticed they've got the retaining wall pretty much finished now, right?
Yes, sir.
And they're putting in storm drainage along the back.
Storm drainage is probably about 70% completed on the site.
Can they continue the storm drainage even when it's cold out, or
They can because the sand that they bed down with is not frozen.
they can do that?
Yep.
And this site, from these mountains of dirt here, is that incoming or outside?
What's that?
The mountains of soil here, is that incoming soil to be used or outgoing soil to be disposed of?
That is outgoing soil that's right here. This is all outgoing, exported.
And then up there, in that far corner, they've got
That's imported stone and gravel that's coming in.
Okay. The reason for that is because the soil conditions are so bad on site, they need to.
Yeah, some of the soils where the site was a cut and fill site.
Yeah.
So that material there is from the cuts that needs to be removed, and the fills that came in are stuff that we're using for structural fill and whatnot. So that was all imported.
What about windows and stuff?
Windows and doors are all in the 8-bay garage that we have down below.
The whole job?
For the buildings that we have framed. Building 1 is all here. So as soon as building 1's done, I think we have in the next 2 weeks we have building 2 coming in too. So as we install the windows in one building, the other windows for the next building will be coming in.
So from a delivery standpoint, you're in good shape with just about everything.
We have no holdups at this point. Right now we're tripping over the material. We're not waiting for it.
Excellent. Well, great job. Thanks for taking the time to explain all this.
Oh, you're welcome.